I'm Shulin, a multidimensional coach devoted to helping you remember who you are and move forward with clarity, purpose, and inspired action. My work blends grounded coaching with intuition-based based tools like Reiki, astrology, channeling, and Akashic healing. I hold a space of sacred neutrality where you can hear your soul clearly and take aligned, heart-led action. Inside this space, we explore your purpose, intuition, relationships, goals, and what's truly calling you forward. Today, I'm joined by Julianne, and I'm so honored that she agreed to share a glimpse of her multidimensional journey and our work together with you. Hi, Julianne.
Hi, nice to see you. Glad
Nice to see you
we could
too.
be here together.
Likewise, yeah, it's been a little while. We were just talking about that since we worked together. But I thought we could start off by just sharing a little bit about how we know each other. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I met Shulin in our Reiki class. We do once a month, and during that time when we were doing that class, I mean, I've been studying with our teacher Lokapal for a while, and I've known him for almost probably as long as you do, or maybe, I don't even know, maybe 10, 15 years. I don't even know how long I met him when I lived in Ojai. Um, and, um, and during this particular time, in our classes, I announced that was going through cancer, or Lokapal did, and he also asked if people would be willing to do some Reiki sessions to help me facilitate my process. And I think at the time I was doing chemo, or I had finished chemo. I can't remember because it's a while ago. This is like 2 years ago. However, with that being said, Shulin and I met, I don't know, once or twice a month. Um, Sometimes, it varied. Every week was different, but what she also blessed me with, um, she organized a group healing session with the group where people could schedule their sessions along with her session. And I'll never forget that. I felt very held during a time where I was going through cancer and I had a lot of struggle around my identity with it. And I felt a victim of it. So it was nice to receive not only the healing from Shulin, but also she facilitated the group energy healing. And that felt really nice too. I felt really supported and held, and not knowing that's what I needed at the time, because my mindset was not in a not in the receptive space that I can recognize now that it's been a while since then. But yeah, that was really beautiful. And then from there, I think in the process of us doing the remote Reiki sessions, she started, I, I don't know if this is the proper way to say it, but Akasha downloads, I guess you could call it. And that was really helpful too. Because then after every Reiki session, I would get a voicemail from her of what came up, and then we would share back and forth. And that was really nice, since we were both healers and supporting each other in our evolution. And then from there, she did an astrology reading, and that was phenomenal. And also, what was really helpful during my cancer journey was to have also a support system. And it doesn't have to be cancer; it could be any health crisis anybody's having. But she had been helped a variety of different other people with it, including having something similar, not cancer, but she had a health issue years ago. I hope I'm saying this right. Um, But and she was such a great support on that. At the time, I felt like I had no inner authority over my choices and what I wanted to do. Um, it was like little me and the big allopathic system and the medical system. And I felt like this small because I'd never had that experience before. But I feel like, along with the Reiki and um, just her presence, it helped me in guiding me to make some of those choices from a place of truth and not from a place of victimhood. And and even though I knew what my choice was, like I knew what I really wanted to do, but I didn't allow myself to know my own truth. And sometimes it's nice to be held in a space of neutrality with somebody who can actually see um, what that choice might be for you. So you can make your own decision around it too, because making choices around health are very personal. And but I mean, I've held space for other people, so it's nice to learn to have other people hold space for you too when you're used to being the caretaker for not only your own life but for other people. And I know that women in general um, get pigeonholed to the caretaker type of role, but I didn't feel that with Shulin. I felt like it was it was like I don't want to use the word field, but it was a or it was seen. You were seen non-judgmentally, and yeah, you could call that mother energy in a way, but not caretaking. That's a different role. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's caretaking. I think allowing somebody to discover the deeper inner power that already exists in them and holding in a container where they can realize that for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And yeah, it's interesting to go back to how we know each other and how we started to work together. Because, like you said, we share a common teacher, Lokpal, who we've both known for years. And we had a few other things in common. You're right. I didn't go through a cancer journey myself, but I supported a partner who dealt with cancer. And I was with him for about 4 years through all of his treatments and then in his passing. But really, the significant lessons, especially in the position of a caretaker, was really seeing that it wasn't my illness, it wasn't my experience, it really belonged to him. And that was a huge eye-opening lesson, especially for myself as a Virgo who wants to spreadsheet everything and just fix everything, right? And I
Right.
think when we're going through illness, we realize it's really not about fixing, and it's definitely not about anybody fixing us or us fixing anyone else. And that was really my first big lesson. And then I had a second relationship where I also was with someone who was dealing with terminal illness. And so I was in the position of caretaker in pretty intense scenarios for years. And then fast forward a year after that second relationship, found myself in my own health crisis, which is what you were referring to. And
Yes.
it was, yeah, COVID turned to autoimmune. And it was actually Lokapal who really nursed me through the beginning stages of that and provided me the foundation to really save my life, but really to help me save my life. And it was amazing and so transformational for me. And I'm just sharing this with you or with anybody who's watching because that really was the impetus to make such a huge life change for me and a work change, and why I've really dedicated myself to this type of work and offering intuition-based services, energy healing, and coaching and mentorship in the capacities that you spoke about. And now, of course, over the last few years, it's evolved. Um, but so when you and I came together, because we have a group that meets, like you said, on a regular basis, and we come together and we do Reiki practices, and we just continue to nurture our energy healing abilities and also have community with each other. And
Mhm.
then when you shared what you were going through, um, actually, I remember at one point, I think I reached out before, or maybe Lokbal may have brought it up, but I remember reaching out and you and I had ended up setting something up monthly. So you and I had a session monthly and we were doing it remote. And it's kind of funny. I'm glad you brought that up because for some people, it's like, what, remote? Like, how do we do that? How does energy work, right? If you're not in person with someone? Well, everything's energy. So yeah, it absolutely really works. And I remember in those sessions too, it was very unique because every a session for an individual is so different, right? One individual compared to another. And there was a lot coming through. If it's okay if I share just a little bit,
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
there
Yes.
you're an open book.
I don't know if I'm an open book, but I feel like I don't own anything. It
Mhm.
it's all just energy and information for others to learn, to
Yeah.
assimilate into what's truth for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I remember a lot came through for you around the Egyptian goddesses and Egyptian codes. There were a lot of triangle codes that were coming in. Arcturians came in and were performing sort of galactic surgeries on you. And what was it? It was the bust of Nefertiti. I remember you kept appearing as that. There's just a lot around Egypt for you and original divine feminine codes.
Yeah.
And what was so beautiful about that, because, it's so great. I know we were saying it's been a while since we've actually worked together in that capacity. Of course, we've kept in touch with each other's journeys since then, but actually to come together today and kind of reflect on almost those seeds that came through, and then to now see how they've evolved and sprouted and flowered and sort of blossomed through your life. Because also, I just want to say and acknowledge, I mean, you made it through your cancer journey.
It did.
And it's incredible to be here with you today talking about this in the way that we are and celebrating in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
did a lot of work, you got a lot of
Oh,
help,
I did.
but you did your work because
Mhm.
the help, it's really what you said earlier. It's like it helps us help ourselves. And so,
Yeah.
we can go to a session with a healer and
Mhm.
we can, see as many people as we want, but unless we're doing the work and unless we're showing up to it, it may or may not bear fruit. And
Right.
you
Right.
really
Right.
showed up to it every time. And
Mhm.
so it was wonderful to work with you on that ongoing basis. I think first we started monthly, and then, like you said, when Local Paul kind of rallied up the group
Yeah.
and we started a schedule of healings for you because I mean, I knew having gone through supporting others
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
their own journey with illness, and then myself being in my own seat of sick, so to speak, how I call it. Um, That's the last thing you need to be doing. I mean, when you are in the position of being unwell in any capacity, not only are you dealing with that for yourself, the physical nature, the emotional nature, psychological, I mean, the list goes on and on, spiritual. Then, not to mention, you have to be your own advocate when you're dealing with healthcare.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
not just Western, really. I mean, it could be any capacity.
I
It's
think
like
any capacity. And
yeah,
thank you for bringing that up. I didn't want to diss the allopathic system.
yeah, it's
But
not a diss.
yeah.
It's really that it just gets so starkly clear what you are showing up to when your life is at stake and that you don't have the tolerance. And when I say you, I mean any of us. When we're in that position, we don't have the tolerance to um, compensate for anyone else. We need
That's
help.
I think it's also the taming of the ego too, because in order for one to have that awareness or that reality, one has to realize that any day could be your day for the inevitable to happen. Like death could be knocking at your door. That's the physical death, not the spiritual death. Um, and so that was also something that I had to learn through the journey. And I still
Yeah.
do to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's just beautiful to be working with you on a one-to-one capacity, sustained through time. And then, of course, we ramped that up. So we went from monthly to weekly. And at the same time, you were receiving healings the idea was that you would be receiving them daily, week to week from
Yeah,
everyone in your
I
group.
don't know. It might have happened for a week or so, but that was also
Yeah,
hard to do because of my
I
doctor's
know,
appointments and
exactly.
people.
But
But the intention was healing enough because I feel like with intention, energy follows. So I could feel the support. And I had to learn that because I think that was part of the divine feminine code coming into a system that was not only emotionally and mentally, but physically overtaxed. And I'm sure I'd already done, I might have still been doing the chemo. I can't remember,
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, and I remember
um,
you also had, I think you had two significant surgeries, one each on or around an eclipse.
oh yeah, I had my mastectomy on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but going back and then,
Yay.
right. But what was so great is that, like you said, because what I tend to do, I really like, even if I have a single session with someone, I typically like to just do a little check-in following to see how people are doing. If I'm working in a coaching capacity or mentorship capacity with someone, then obviously we have an open channel. And for you and I, we just kind of opened that up. And so when I was checking in with you, you had the opportunity to kind of share and reflect back. And then we did some exchanging. And there were even some times where, because of, what I had gone through, not only for my partners, but then myself in dealing with doctors, the allopathic community, and just, generally anybody who didn't really understand what we were going through, which again is not to diss anyone, because how could anyone understand unless they've gone through something like that, right? And I know there were times where you reached out where you were very clear, hey, help me get back on track because I am so freaked out about walking into that office tomorrow and
Oh
having them
yeah.
pull me out of my center and tell me that I have to do something that I don't actually feel comfortable doing. And so we worked through some of that together
Yeah.
because I know for my own journey, there was a point, and I shared this with you too.
Mhm.
I realized again, when your life is at stake, I think you get really clear. I got really clear what mattered and what didn't matter. And there is nothing that was worth more for me than my life. And so when I started to work with whether it's Western doctors, nurses, or even alternative care, because everybody has a different range of consciousness, I realized I needed to go in, and I guess this is my human resource background coming in,
Mhm.
but I realized, hey, I'm hiring. I'm looking for partners for my wellness team, for my support care team.
Mhm. Mhm.
Here's what I'm looking for. Is that a match for you? And some doctors, nurses, even alternative healthcare practitioners, it's like you'd see their whole brain, kind of like just all the synapses like going off like, what? This is not what we're used to.
Yeah.
We're
I
used to
remember when
somebody
you told
coming
me
in.
that.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
used to somebody coming in
Yeah.
and they just do what we tell them to do. But
Mhm.
I wasn't going to do that, and that's not how I like to work with others either. And that was really pivotal in shaping my work with people as well and supporting others who are going through those types of journeys, because and what a journey that is to come back to our own centered position of sovereignty.
Mhm.
So it was anyway, I remember, there were a couple times where you reached out. We just helped to get you realigned so that you could go back in there from a place of, yes, I matter. I'm looking for support for me and not looking to do something for someone else. And then there were some beautiful experiences that you shared with me where you completely shifted the fabric of the universe, the quantum field. I remember you letting me
What
know
did
about.
I
Well, there
do?
was one you shared, you reached out after you were visiting one
Thank
of
you
the
for
doctors, I
saying that.
think. Yeah, you were
Mhm.
visiting one of the doctors you were interviewing, I think, for doing your reconstructive surgery. And it was just, if I'm remembering correctly, it was posing challenges to you because she was asking you to fulfill qualifications that you weren't necessarily aligning with in order to get the outcome that you were looking for, which was the surgery.
Oh, that doctor.
And I remember that
Mhm.
you called me and it was such a celebration because, and I don't remember exactly what you did because I knew you were doing a lot of inner work, a lot of mindset work, a lot of quantum field work. than the
Mhm.
work, the Reiki work that we were doing.
Yeah.
I know the astrology reading helped give some insight for some things that were going on for you, but you went in that office, you just shared, you shifted the entire experience
Mm.
because of how you decided to, how you chose to work with the energies and with the people involved at that office.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So you shared a little bit, and thank you so much for being so open also about your journey. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, it's amazing that I'm just so proud of you. I mean,
Mm.
everything you've
Maybe I
done.
should be more proud of myself too. I am. I am. I'm
Well,
just,
sometimes
it's
it's
nice
hard.
to, yeah, yeah.
Well, and also I'll say, because you and I have talked about this as well, you make it through something like that. It doesn't mean it's over and now you can just go on with life. Starting back
No,
over
no, no,
with
no.
life is a whole other phase of the
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, and that's what I'm in this last
Yeah.
2 months for me, and I have been reflecting on that, how um, after you go through any any disease, but now we're talking about my particular disease, which is cancer, and I think it also is because everybody calls me a survivor, and I don't feel like I'm a survivor. I feel like um, I've been initiated into the truth of who I am, and the cancer was just the teacher for that. So for that, I'm grateful. But what it did not prepare me for was the old habit of trying to fit into a mold of who I used to be and not knowing who I will become. So, and I think that's part of anybody's life. But yeah, so that has been a big journey. But I wanted to go back to the remote Reiki, and um it's nice to get a Reiki session with somebody in person, which I think is really helpful. Um, I've loved getting also the remote Reiki. Um, because it also helped me learn how to stay present in my own body without having to look for or somebody else having to do that for me. And and for whatever reason, I did have, it's bringing my all my bodies into a place of that more calmness space, which is where I think most healing happens, is on an energy level, and switching the mind off into more of that body level. But there were a few moments, few sessions where their like thresholds would open up, or there was, and I think I shared this in one of my texts to you, that it was like a portal opened up in my room, and I could see energy healers coming in through the portal and laying their hands on me. And so I found that I really enjoyed that. And so I wanted to share that as a way for anybody else who, you know, doesn't understand remote Reiki. Um, Also, the person who's giving the remote Reiki, um, such as Shulin, I mean, it really does take amount of focus and just really clarity on that intention. And I felt that. I really did feel that. And I think the other thing is I feel like there was a part of me that wanted to be fixed by all of it too, fixed by the healing that was outside of me. And I feel like that was a big lesson for me, is to it's like switching the coin towards my more inner light, instead of learning what that was like. And I think that's how it all facilitated, even when you were talking about going into the doctor and shifting that. I loved when you were like, yeah, I'm the one who interviews the doctors. I was like, wow, I never really thought about that. And that was a big shift. So I'll thank you for bringing that up because I think that's such an important topic when you're in a place of vulnerability,
Mm.
such as
Yeah.
not only a place of vulnerability, but not wanting to be in my body because I didn't want to really have cancer in my body. And so trying to merge that all together. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. And thank you too. Those are some great points. I mean, I think you speak, I think you articulate accurately. Again, sometimes we think, oh, healing, I have this problem. Let me go to this person so they can fix it. And then to your point, what ends up happening on the healing journey is we get directed back to ourselves, but we learn the tools how to empower ourselves. And it, like you said, it shifts, it flips the coin, it shifts the outlook from outer to inner. And that, I mean, I know for myself too, that was the healing journey to bring all my energy back, to turn the lights back on in my system because I was dealing with autoimmune. And, cancer, I think autoimmune is really at the basis of
Oh
pretty much
yeah.
every dis-ease, right?
Yeah.
And it was really about turning the lights back on and getting the system functioning on its own. Whatever, it's almost like jump starting a car or jump starting a battery, right, of a car. It's like the battery goes dead. You need to hook it up to another car, another battery to kind of like jumpstart it. But once it gets going, it's like, okay, now we can, you know, it can go
Yeah.
on its own,
Yeah.
even though we have to do the necessary things to take care of it.
And
Yeah.
that's a huge shift in consciousness that I think the planet is going through in itself. It
Yeah.
is that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And that's why I think, so many light workers are being called, and so many of us are being called to purpose work because we're shifting what it is to live and to be and to how to experience the world from the inner rather than taking everything in from the outer. And I
mhm.
also want to say, to your point about being a survivor, I would call you a thriver,
Yes,
right?
excellent. Yes,
But
definitely.
I love how you talked about it as an initiation.
Mm.
Very similar. I see my own journey the same way. And also, I've even considered it like an apprenticeship, because there's so much learning from an experiential standpoint so that we can be those beacons for others. Because I know you do very similar healing work. You're a coach as well, supporting women going through similar journey to yours, if not the same. And, you know, we know best when we go through it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so you spoke a little bit about this, but just curious if there's anything else you want to
Yeah.
share around just anything about your experience working with me, what shifted as a result of our work together, anything that surprised you in the process.
Um, I think it might be, well, definitely when it came to that sovereign code of having the ability and the courage to step forward on my healing path and making decisions from a place of clarity. And I think it was a pattern that I had, an ancestral pattern where I was such a people pleaser, uh, a caretaker, always taking care of other people instead of my own needs, huge acquiescer. And I mean, considering the fact that I did have breast cancer, so I mean, that was like a lack of self nurturing for my own self. And I've been a healer and a massage therapist and a yoga teacher for 15, 20 years. So I understood what that was. And I had worked with a lot of women in documentary films and creating work around female empowerment and the divine feminine. So when it showed up, it it was kind of like a highlight on all of that for me. And so I felt that sometimes when somebody's given themselves their own permission for something, and you can show up as that, It's one thing to say, oh, that's the medicine I want, or that's the energy I want. And then the universe is going to give you situations where you can actually be that. And so, for whatever blessing came for us to come together and we started working together, first of all, I'm so grateful, because not only you're this amazing healer, but you're this beautiful soul, beautiful person. And so that is like the package deal. Um, but I, it was allowing myself to give myself permission to say no or be comfortable in my own truth and making decisions. Because that's how I felt. I would go into this doctor and I would feel that acquiescing into what they would say as if they owned my own body. They owned my own choices, that they knew what was better for me. And then I would get thrown to my face, if you don't do this, you're going to die. And so that, I mean, that was definitely a challenge. But soon there was it took a while, but I came to a place where I was able to recognize that pattern. And so did I answer the question? I can't remember.
I think you are. I think you also answered it earlier because you're reminding me when you spoke about how,
Yeah.
when we were working together, a lot of it was really just about holding space for you.
It was
Even,
receiving when we were working together, and even even in the Reiki class, it was about me learning how to receive nurturing. And it was nice to receive that outside of myself, but then there's the turnkey where you have to, which I think I'm in now, where you have to really learn how to nurture yourself too. And
yeah,
yeah.
right. And so even if we were doing like the energy healing, like you said, which is very different, the remote work, we actually did it in a very unique way that I find to be the most powerful,
Mhm.
but not always the easiest for people to take in, meaning, we didn't get on Zoom, we didn't get on the phone.
No,
We just texted
nothing.
and said, okay, this is the time we're
It's
doing.
from eight to
And then we
nine.
knew,
That's
yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah.
And then we knew, I sent you a few prep instructions,
Yeah. Yeah.
create your space, light a candle, play music, whatever's going to feel like a healing space for you. Make sure you have the
Yeah.
uninterrupted time, lie down, whatever feels comfortable. I
Mhm.
texted
Yeah.
you a few minutes before, okay, I'm starting soon. You were able to send me any kind of intention beforehand. You'd write it out.
Right.
So I knew that. And then it was just, okay, now I'm sitting and I'm letting the energy come through me to you. And, it's funny because I had a client at one point. We were actually going to, originally, we were scheduled to do in person, but for whatever reason, they couldn't make it into the
Yeah.
office. So we did remote. And he said, well, what platform are we going to do? And I kind of laughed and I said, energy. And he goes, what?
Yeah.
Because he was thinking, like, well, are we doing on Zoom or Google Meet or like FaceTime? And we can, of course, we can do that, right? We can open up a screen. But what I love about just straight energy is it is just straight energy. There's nothing in between. And wow, does it work, right? Even when I've worked with people who are a little bit skeptical. I mean, this particular client, he was joking because on the other side, when we were able to connect and kind of reflect a little bit about their experience, he joked and said, well, I wasn't sure if you were just sitting there smoking a cigarette watching TV. You know?
Well, that leads me. What is your process when you are doing a remote session with somebody? Maybe
So
that could be really helpful
Oh,
for,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So, what I do, I usually have some kind of sacred space that I sit in, and I like to make sure that I'm physically comfortable, especially because oftentimes for Reiki, we'll do kind of through the hands. What I tend to do, because it can be a lot, even though for I do these weekly YouTube collective transmissions, so I do have my hands up. But for a full hour session, which I'll do for a client, I actually usually sit with a pillow on my lap. So I make sure that I'm all cushioned up on the seat, where I don't have to work to hold myself. And then I'll usually hold my hands like this, but down on my lap with a pillow on my lap, just so I'm very comfortable because I don't want my body to work in any way. When it comes to Reiki, as you and I both know, we become the channel. It's not about our energy. We call the energy in. It's like we turn
Mhm.
it on like a faucet. We set the intention so that there's a clear pathway for the energy to flow. Because just like water, when it has a clear channel, it will go straight there.
Mhm.
If there's no clear channel, it just goes, right? So with energy also, that's why it's so important to set intention because then the energy knows exactly where to go. So I'll hold whatever intention the client sends. I'll imagine, kind of holding the client between my hands and the intention there as well. And, I don't make it complicated. I don't overthink about like what that means to kind of like hold it there and that. I just set the intention. I call in the Reiki. I ask for the Reiki. I think I say something like this Reiki healing is for, and then I state the name and I state the intention. And then I say that 3 times. And then I let the energy flow. And I know and I trust that the energy has its own intelligence and it will do whatever it needs to do. So my work as the practitioner is to get out of the way and to hold the space for the energy to flow through to that client and for that intention. And then I stay in witness. So I notice whatever comes up because sometimes I'll get visions. Basically all the clair senses, which are the inner senses, right? So if we think of the outer senses, the sight, smell, touch, see, all of that,
Yeah.
we have all those outer senses, we have them as inner senses. So I will just stay witness to what comes through. And then thankfully I've just practiced kind of trying to remember that so that like you said, you shared this earlier that after the session, when it comes to a remote Reiki session, then I will either voice note or write out whatever the channeled insights were that came through. But what I like to do also, and I did this with you, is send you what it is, but I always say, okay, rest, take this in when you're ready. And also, if you want to share your experience, let's have you share your experience first before
Yes.
you
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
take in whatever it is that I'm sending to you, because your experience is the most important. And that was so lovely also to be exchanging those with you. And then because we worked on going to see how, again, it's like a garden, like a flower. It's like the seeds get planted and then to see how they ripple outward through time and in
I
your
think what you're
experience.
saying is the more sessions we did, the deeper it would get.
Yeah, we
Right?
can. Well, and
Yeah.
also the session, but I
No,
think
deeper
the,
is the right word. Just more expansive or the
well, actually,
information.
I mean, I felt that way as a practitioner, but how did you feel
Okay.
as the client? Was that your experience?
Yeah, I think what could be really helpful is one session is nice, but I feel like multiple sessions also helps to build up a trust between you and somebody else. Um, Whatever way you might do it, an online thing or remote, I don't think it matters because it's still the same energy and intention, which is for healing. So, but yeah, I think with anything with repetition, you create that rhythm and the universe can respond to that rhythm. And especially if the intention is really pure, then the body naturally has that, you can call it frequency or intention within it. I think all bodies have come here for pure intention.
Well, and
And
then we shift nervous system patterns too, because like you said,
yeah.
those
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
old ways of responding, acquiescing, those are the things that you were shifting. I mean, Julian, you are
Mhm.
a walking testimony,
Oh, okay.
to doing your inner work. And
Yeah.
it's not to say that somebody who's not, it's not to say that you do the inner work and then you get this particular outcome. It's not like that.
No,
It's that
not at all.
just to say that your life is um, an embodiment. You are an embodiment of the consciousness work that you have been doing, through the cancer journey and beyond. And it's just so beautiful to witness. And then I love that you're highlighting working with someone on an ongoing basis. That's my experience as well, which is why that's how I like to work with my own clients. And just
I
that
think
it
it's
was so
because,
special. Yeah, because you and I were also able to connect in between the sessions to have that kind of continuity. And you knew that anytime you needed, because we had opened up that space, that containment, you also knew that if you were in a pinch, you had somebody to reach out to to work through in the moment.
yeah, yeah, that was really helpful. Thank you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if you could, and correct me, I think some of the Reiki, you also integrated some of the Akasha with it. Am I correct?
Hmm.
So maybe you could dive into that a little bit because I really felt those were just the understanding what that is in
Yeah.
with the Reiki.
Okay, sure. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, because you and I, so at the time, a few years ago, I was doing, I sort of had everything separated out. I was doing Reiki sessions, I was doing Akashic healing sessions, and then I was doing astrology sessions. However, once I started incorporating Akashic healing, I actually started opening up the Akashic records for everything I do. And then that really has evolved into what is today my soul guidance session, which kind of opens up the energetic field and then just kind of utilizes, pulls out of the toolbox whatever we need for whatever is going on with the client. So Akashic healing, the way that I like to describe it, the Akashic records are known as this sort of vast energetic library that has the energetic imprints of all that exists, all that has ever existed, and all that will ever exist, right?
Mhm.
And I really like to see it as the vast field of consciousness. And just like in yoga philosophy, if anybody's familiar with that, everything that exists is a form of consciousness. It's a sort of a limited form of consciousness that's come on purpose in order to have an experience, because otherwise consciousness as itself is like a homogeneous substance. It's like water trying to know water, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then at one point, at least according to yoga philosophy, consciousness was like, hey, I want to have an experience. And as soon as it had that thought, Shakti was born and the dance began, right?
Right.
And
I
duality
want to go into a
came.
body.
Exactly. And so you came in the form of Julianne with your unique energetic imprint. I
Yeah.
came in the form of Shulin with my unique energetic imprint, and everything else that exists, has its own unique energetic imprint. And so when we're working with the Akashic records, it's almost like, it would be as if going into a library and pulling off the bookshelf, the Book of Julianne. So every energetic information that could possibly exist about you, we can tune in and ask for that. And we
Mhm.
can do that for a person, a place, a thing, an animal, a location, a business, a, a point in time. Now, from what I understand, what I've gathered, people work with Akashic records in different ways.
Yeah.
So I know some people, I've had some practitioners speak of it as if it's really about past lives. I
Hmm.
don't personally, that's not how I learned it. That's not how I use it. The way I use Akashic healing is it is the vast existence of consciousness. Anything you want to go into the Akashic field, I really see the Akashic field as the quantum field, as the vast field of consciousness.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And anything that exists is energy.
So
And it
that
has
thoughts, feelings, everything.
and it has an energetic imprint. It just does. It has a vibration. Anything that exists has a vibration. If it has a vibration, we can tune into that vibration. And so
Mhm.
when I open up the Akashic records, and a lot of these things, at this point, I've really found that whether it's Reiki or Akashic healing, astrology, tarot, I find them all as these access points into intuition, which is the doorway or the pathway into the vast field of consciousness. And so whatever ritual, we want to do to kind of like open that gate, to turn our intuition on, we can do that, and I have found my unique ways to do that. So there are some differences that I experience in how information shows up for me, depending on what tool I'm using. And there's also a way that for me, it's really just an opening experience. And those are the opening rituals that I've come to know and use and work with. Just like I like to practice yoga. I don't do a lot of, let's say, I don't know, I don't do a lot of gym working out,
I was
right?
going to
But
say, go to the
yeah,
gym and riding the bicycle.
right, but that's just me, and other people really love to do Pilates or so
Yeah.
it's like whatever access point, right? Whatever doorway or opening or gateway in order to get to the pathway of our intuition, is how I really see it. So, I hope that answers the question a little bit. Yes, there are some differences, but I'm saying that also because even in my experience, like I've been practicing Reiki now for, I think, over 15 years. And so as I continue to learn different tools and different ways that different teachers like to explain things or train on intuition, I realize, wow, I've been doing all these things this whole time. I
Yeah.
just really didn't know. I didn't have the language. I was just doing it. And
Yeah.
so that's why I really see them as these amazing tools to help us access our own intuition, our own ways of working with energy. That's why even I have a mentorship program. It's a 4-month apprenticeship where I will attune and train someone in all the 4 levels of Reiki. So one, two, three, and master. But the way that I teach and I sort of coach and guide is yes, we learn the basics of Reiki, traditional Reiki,
Mhm.
but that's not the be all end all. That is in order. It's like getting training wheels, like a tricycle. Here's one way of working with energy. Now, let's study how do you as a unique being experience energy? How do you see energy? How do your clair senses work? Right? So that's how I like to work with people is yes, we may use tools, but we all bring in our own unique medicine. So let's find out what that is.
I think that's just the culture we live in. It's very left-brained. It's all about a degree and a tool, and then we have to kind of balance it out to, especially I think as doesn't matter if you're a healer or not, as a person, is finding that the tool is within and in your own unique way.
Right, and we all have them. I mean, some people
Mhm.
talk about their spidey sense, or I think as a professional healer, then it's just a matter like with any profession. Many people are good at many things, and then what are the other aspects of, facilitating a session for a person or a mentorship or a coaching program for someone? What are the aspects of holding space? What are the ethics of being a professional, intuition-based or energy-based practitioner? So then it's just a matter of the building blocks around how to really shape and put those gifts into service to humanity. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Actually, you had just asked about Akashic healing. Did I answer that?
Yeah, yeah, of
Okay.
course. No, 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 no. I feel like a lot of people don't understand what the Akasha is. So when I say we
Hmm.
kind of combine, we kind of combined a little bit of the Reiki with the Akasha.
Yeah, I guess I
Uh,
would just say Akasha I see as, and I'm curious because I know you work with the Akashic field as well. I really see it as the vast field of consciousness and why I like to open up the records of an individual, even if I'm doing a Reiki session or an astrology session, is to just that's my way of tuning into that unique individual to kind of open up the energetic space unique to them and unique to our field together. And then if it's Reiki, allow that energy to flow toward them through that. And if it's astrology, astrology is really like a language. It's another form of alphabet in a way.
mhm,
And however, like you said, it's like it's not just about what the alphabet says or the words that it spells. It's okay, seeing this in the chart, now what other intuitive information is coming through about that person, whether it's through me or in the sacred energetic field that we're holding together. Things very well may come through the client as well. And that's actually the most important aspect of the work is, and I think you spoke to this in our work together,
mhm,
was really what was powerful for you was what were your ahas? What were your insights? What were the shifts that you truly came into, that there was no going back because you had changed?
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think also it's like peeling the onion. You could have a healing session 5 years ago or 2 years ago, and sometimes you really don't know what has changed in you until you step away from it and then you look back into the person that you were. And you're like, ah, in that session, that person said that, or um, Shulin said that, or this is what came up for me. And so it's been nice to kind of like recollect some of the communication pathways that we had to kind of go, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
hit on a very good, important point. I find personally, maybe this is because I'm a student of life. I mean, I've realized I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. But I find that with people on this path who are seekers, who are healers, um, we're constantly learning.
Yes.
And on the healing path, we become students of our own self. So that's why I always love to encourage people to journal after a session or journal after a healing, write it down, write the experiences down before you forget them, before you start to question, did that
Right.
actually happen?
Yeah.
Because then you have a reference you can go back to. And, again, even as simple as it's why I like to record the sessions and have them sent to clients afterwards and with the notes and the summaries. And, not everybody uses it, but it is so helpful. I do that myself when I feel ready, go back and listen to a session with somebody that I'm working with for me, and just like you said, after a period of time, it's like things land so differently. Um,
They do.
yeah.
And it's an accumulation. I think we're all kind of shedding old storylines and um, opening up a new storyline, not only in the collectively, but personally. And I think, having, not that I haven't done that many times before, or maybe multiple timelines, but in this body and where I am now, um, facing cancer and having been told I'm going to be not here by this time, and I still am. And
So I'm saying walking testimony, and
yeah,
I just have
right.
to say, I can't believe
Yeah.
that 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 is the conversation that people have. Now, I understand there are many things I don't understand. I'm not in the shoes of those doctors that,
Yeah, yeah.
would
And
be
no,
saying those things, and I know they're doing their
right.
best. They're doing their best with what they have
What they know
and what they know. And that being
and
said,
yeah.
I can't, I don't know. I was thinking that even earlier when you were saying that, and I just have to express a little bit. Anyway, and like I said, walking testimony. Yes, very glad that you were with us here today, and kudos to you. I'm just so proud of you, and I just admire you so much for the work that you have done and that you continue to do. Yeah, and thank you so much for being here today and having this conversation with me. And is there anything else you want to share or express, or, if anyone's considering doing this kind of work with me or someone else, anything you would say to them, if there's any hesitancy or lack of, not really sure if it's the way to go for them?
Why would it not be the way for them to go? Oh, I don't under that. I don't understand. It depends what each soul's going through. But I think on the collective level, I think a lot of people are seeking just spiritual soul support and understanding what does it mean to be a soul outside of the constructs and the structure of how we've all been taught how to be or exist. And that bridge is, I know a lot of people call it the matrix. I don't want to overuse that word, but just the constructs of our survival world, which is our economy, into living in your own economy and ethos from your own truth. And I feel like that would be something that you could assist somebody in walking towards um, their sense of self instead of them wandering around thinking they're going to find it.
Mm,
It's like grounding it into where they are now, no matter what.
yeah. Yeah. It's in us. It's in us all. And sometimes we just do need help
Oh,
to uncover it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you. That's beautiful. And I love what you said.
what did I say?
Live live in your own economy and ethos in your own truth. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I kind of feel like words get overused, right? That's why I feel like the survivor in the cancer world is overused. And I can understand why. So, I mean, a lot of people have gone through really, including myself, um, hard journey with it. But even like soul, when I think about my soul, I feel like it, I used to feel like it's so deep within me, but sometimes I would have to hide it
Mhm.
because it's such a powerful force. So when you see you doing soul work, what is the soul work that you are assisting people with? For me, I feel like that's what it was for me. When you go back to that moment where I was able to have my own inner authority over what my choices were. And not only having making a choice, but then, sometimes you make a choice and you're like, oh my God, was that the right thing? He says I'm gonna die. What if I do? All of that. But you have to own the choice you make as well.
And there's power in that, and there's healing in that, and owning your own choices, whatever
Yeah.
those are, as long as it aligns for you, whatever it is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Julian. Really, your presence, your words are a true gift. And also, I will put in, because you spoke a little bit about your work as a documentary filmmaker and also you're a healer. So I'll go ahead and put your links in the show notes so that if people want to find you, and of course, I'll tag you on social media and all that. Um, and then if you're watching this and feeling the pull, I do offer soul guidance sessions and mentorship, so you can reach out or explore more at my website, shulenaurora.com. Thank you again for being here. It's always a pleasure to connect with you and talk.